Hi. Hi, friends. Poetry
Hey.
friends. Um, so I'm going to start with, uh, I'm Alexis Moons for those of you who don't know me. Um, I've got a few of, and some themes. It's spring, and of course we always write poetry in the spring, but sometimes we write violent poetry in the spring, which is, I think apropos of this particular spring. Um, so this is called The Drama of Early Spring. New moss is feeding on the bark of trees, framing the newly hewn where limbs once were. Now they look like fiery eyes, and the bark like skin on a dragon. Why I walk. Some people seem just fine to walk in circles for exercise. I, on the other hand, like to walk in one direction as far as I can until I am weary. And then I turn back to go home, a little sad I didn't go just a bit further. A few years ago, I moved to New Jersey, and this is a poem about the town of Raritan, which is a old, sort of rough around the edges town on a train line. Raritan. An old train station and its tracks cut through the town long ago. They are like an old scar, older than the old houses that seem small but hold many corners and many memories. Older even than the old churches on that side of the street, and older than the personal monuments to Mary, which face them on the other side. I drank freshly made coffee from the Philippine bakery as I walked past Aida's, the tiny Asian Italian restaurant. For rent, said the sign in the window. Maybe nothing is really very old in this new world, but still, there are so many layers and so many juxtapositions. I found a luck charm underfoot, partly embedded in asphalt, a bracelet made of red yarn for life, and one blue eye for protection. Old and maybe new magic is buried kind of deep in Raritan. All right. So the next couple are ones that I wrote in the last 2 days. So you might recognize some of those themes. Well, actually this one I wrote March 21st. So at the beginning of this whole, whatever the fuck it is we're going through, I'm sorry, shouldn't curse. Here we go. Her rhythms. This is not meant to wipe us out. It is just a shot to the foot to get us to dance to her rhythms. We have not heard her music in such a long time. She had to turn up the volume. I've always been kind of interested in Khalil Gibran and the Desiderata, Lao Tzu. I like the idea of people trying to write a guidebook for life, and I think partly it's that person needing to write that guidebook for themselves, but it's also a little bit arrogant to think that you could write a guidebook for human beings to follow, but we have to try, right? Because we don't get born with the set of rules. And this was written 2 days ago, and it's definitely not any sort of complete anything, but it's more of an homage, I'd say. It references Nietzsche and Ram Dass, and maybe you'll get something from it. I don't know really what it is. And I call it Beyond Good and Evil, so it's a total ripoff. There are no good actions when all is subjective. Just as there are no evil people, there are just people who lack empathy. Align yourself with those that show signs of empathy, in the absence of empathy, teach empathy. To give up is to give in. The absence of deeds does not alleviate one of sin. When someone is bleeding, even a dirty, ragged shirt can stop the flow. Many of us have spent too many years trying to be perfect in a universe where that is not possible. It is not always necessary to reinvent the wheel, especially as parts of the wheel go missing. It is sometimes okay to listen to the old masters and just be here now. This is from 2016, and it's called Election Day, and I thought it just going through my stuff that it might be appropriate. Vote blue no matter who. There will be no sigh of relief from me come Tuesday. There will still be killing and a planet diseased come Tuesday. Our choice between monster or player, which one was which? The poor will still be poor. The Black still disenfranchised come Tuesday. The non-believers will still be maligned come Tuesday. So free thinkers, you cannot resign come Tuesday. One person, one choice is what we should fight for. But after 60-hour work weeks, try crawling off the floor. So students and artists and parents and grandparents, lift each other up come Tuesday. And I'll leave you with this little one. Some don't start at zero. They start below with basic needs still a ways to go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Great, I think everybody, no. Sorry, you unmute all. Okay, great. Okay, so who would like to read next? Maybe between,
I guess I could jump in.
Unless, if we could just give Blythe and Kim first dibs, if just because they were on first. Do you guys want to read, or do you want to let Adam read?
Go on, Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay, great.
I just thought I only jumped to the fore in the interest of getting myself over with, but Tom drafted me in at the last moment, so my screen is filling with all these notices about how we're getting muted. Okay.
Yeah. I muted everybody and then unmuted you. That's. I'll figure out a better way, I'm sure, later, but not now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let's see. I won't take up a lot of time since I was put in at the last moment, but I guess as per this time of isolation and despair, yet new forms of togetherness like we're experiencing this evening, I will start with a jolly eulogy to a friend of mine who was a brilliant tap dancing comic book artist. It's called Never Remember to Forget. R.I.P. Van Winkle, thou twinkling star of fancy aflame, lighting frames around mirrors of glass looking back, garlands for the tap, gently tapping to awaken to dreams, a tear without a track. Flights of paper sparrows flap into the bruised rouge sunset rondelle, rabbits in your hat, hoping mad, Elysian weeds, grazed into garden maze. The tree of life climbed and upward dived, its prismed fruits free-falling, floating with the glow, to sparkle in a goblin goddess' kindly winking eye. And I guess I'll read, I can read one or two from my very brief life as a New Yorker. When I lived in Queens for 3 months, and it was a spring of sorts, a kind of rebirth. It was reflected in this poem called Brightside. Everyone who ever lived is walking down the street, like the sea of other people who all know they'll never meet. You think you see somebody, a glimmer on the surface of the tide, made not to be followed, passed on by. I used to think the waves were for goodbye, but nothing drifts away. It's just borne high. We can only see them from the side. There are no corners to our oceans or our eyes. Uh, and you know what? That's enough.
Okay, all right. Unmute all. Okay, unmute all. Great. Blythe or Kim?
Sure, I can go.
Okay, let me just mute everybody for a second, and then unmute.
This is my first Zoom. I'm in Mexico. I've been in Mexico for 1 year and 3 months.
Wow.
And right before this Corona craze, I was really ready to come back to the United States. And it feels very strange to be here now. I feel so far removed, and I've been socially isolating for over a year, doing a lot of creative things and being quiet and writing. So I have amassed many, 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 many poems. But I wrote this one a couple of nights ago. So much confusion. How can we choose? What can we even remember? I mean, what do you think came before? What about now? It's okay to scream, of course, in every single language. Even if I don't know the words, I will understand. This is crazy, crazy, crazy. Expected. Exactly. Are you reading my mind? Or are you just a mirror? Either way, I am grateful for the otherworldly vibrations despite all this. So much wondering. And don't be so afraid. How can we really grow without all the changing? And what are they thinking? You know, the ones who can't get to the truth. As long as we keep the conversation going and make sure we are healthy, taking care of our people, everyone, and I mean it. I guess this is more than hoping. Trust me, this is the right thing to do. I know you agree, and I know we don't know, but energy is feeding the disease, and we will get past this after tragedy like the phoenix rising and everything reborn and new. Come again, in every color, in every single shade there ever was, where hate becomes grace and ignorance becomes wisdom, and something way more important than this is how. Now. I wrote a lot of things in the last many days. This also is from the last many days. Karma, that bitch. You are all set. And I want to see and also take a rest, because this Latin jazz is a little bit distracting. There we go, getting back to the point. You have no idea what you got into, but I do. Watch the graceful way this all goes down. I mean, I have every reason to sing every note I can think, and because really this is what we call free. At least I do, and I know I already do. I said it before, and this is, and I couldn't hear what you said before, but this part won't let me take a sip. This wine, no wait, I sing, the sun is shining, and I'm pretty sure only 1 out of 3 understands. Oh, but what did you just play? And is it because of what I said when I was singing, or was it from that first conversation on you, the other one playing the rhythm like you were when you were deep inside? In the beach, in your shades, staring at my glowing chest, and this is the best. And now you take them off inside and look into my eyes finally, and only really when I sing. And whatever you are actually playing, Well, I guess at least I recorded it. And then because I'll never see you ever, ever again, I will say, however, though, that I did like you then. And I'll choose to remember you this way now because of karma. And also, no, really, though, because you were. And all of you were absolutely never real to me, ever. So yes, right, karma, that bitch. And let's see. I really want to read this one that I love by Patti Smith. And it's called A Useless Death, published in 1972. I am on the scaffold. What excitement, what glitter, what is going on? I know so little of this country. I suspect it's the coronation of the Queen. No, oh God, I'm wrong. It's the execution of the Queen, and I'm trapped. And there's no way I can help. There's no way I can avoid watching. Perched on this scaffold, I got a bird's eye view. The king calls for action like the director of some blown out passion play. He makes a weary gesture, and it's clear he hasn't slept in ages. First come the ladies in waiting. There they are, 30 of them, dressed alike, high-waisted green taffeta gowns. Moving alike, medieval majorettes, that Flemish air, nose in the air, 30 pairs of tiny hands folded over protruding bellies. Why are condemned women affecting a pregnant woman's gesture? And how comical it is, 30 sentenced women swaying, some very pretty indeed, many on the brink of collapse. The king is muttering. What is he saying? Seems my hearing has become as acute as my view. Goddamn ladies in waiting, get rid of them. How I've despised them, always clutter up the castle, cluck, cluck. He seems to object to them more than the queen, but as the saying goes, kill me, you kill my dogs, and vice versa. It's a package deal. It's the rules of the game, and a king sticks to them. The ladies are in tears, tearing tissues. They approach a sizable block of land. It's roped off and seasoned with fresh topsoil. 31 shovels are lined up face down. And the king decrees that they are to dig their own grave. Jesus, what a ruckus. The women lose what composure they had in the procession. They sob openly. They wring their hands and cling to one another. Several fall prostrate. Those more distraught tear their hair and rip their gowns. This is getting ridiculous. The prince is embarrassed. I throw a quick glance towards the castle. Backdrop. There's the queen. No one has noticed her. She moves as if a dream, listless, weightless. She seems to have little to do with the proceedings. Does she understand that death is near? She seems completely unaware. How I admire her. She's a true heroine. Oblivious of her power, how power, love and death revolve around her as though she had never stood before a mirror. The king is exasperated. Her lack of recognition. Does his word mean nothing? The ladies in waiting make up for it. They weep harder at the sight of their gentle queen. They beat their breasts in unison. A few onlookers swoon. The cook has to be carried off. And I write in stream of consciousness. I sing most of my poems, so this is really refreshing that I get to read. Well, I'm choosing to read. And oh, every grain of sand is representing just how small we really are. This isn't anything planned, and yet somehow something comes out making sense to me. Only, or maybe you connect or were connected to me in some way. Let me know, because there's only a chance I will or can remember anything quite like this. I don't know, but I appreciate how anything comes. I like thinking I'm not the only one, and sometimes it's very alone. Are we anything at all? Sure as shit like this, nothing is clear, but somehow we see, or it could be just opening our eyes, science or feeling, like blinking, like in a stream of consciousness is. My favorite way is just like this, and everyone is really funny sometimes, just like all the other ways they believe is only a moment of realness. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you're like so nervous. Show some respect for yourself. I'm trying to preserve and protect, trying to be not so serious, trying to be patient, to be certain, to be light, to go deep inside and come out right, no matter how far or close or how exposed or naked or uncomfortable this makes you. It's okay. No need to be that way. And that's all. It's almost good then. Are we good? Did you go within like this? Okay, no then. When? Begin again. Yeah, don't worry, it's all good. I said, I'm saying, I'm all yours. Come on. Just a little kiss for old time's sake, for good karma, or whatever you like. Not so uptight like your mama, or maybe your father, or maybe not. Again, I don't know you or anything at all, you know? You know this too, and maybe I can stop, of course, but why should I? Maybe you don't have a clue. I'm inviting you because in some cultures is what we actually have to do.
Okay, let's see. Unmute all.
Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yay.
I love
Great job,
it.
Kim.
Thanks.
Good.
Thanks so much.
Dave, did you come with new stuff, or
Sorry?
did you come with some new stuff, or
Oh,
you're
no,
just,
no.
you're just hanging? You're just hanging? Okay, cool. So, I'm just trying to force myself to write new stuff. And I got a title for something recently, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but it was interesting because I tried to use that towards a lyric for this other project, and the singer for it said, "This is way too dark." So, so there you go. I want to make sure that I'm loud enough because the last one I was sort of mumbling a little bit. So can you guys hear me pretty well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this may be repeat for some of you guys, but this is one of my old poems. This is a 20-year-old poem, but I like it.
Wow.
It's called The Lonely Pedal Steel Guitar Player. His rhinestones are crying and the steel guitar mules. The design on his boots is covered by jeans moving in 3/4 time. And the steel guitar mules in so many different ways. Moving in 3/4 time is the lonely pedal steel guitar player. In so many different ways, he caresses the strings with metal. The lonely pedal steel guitar player longs to hold a woman in those hands. He caresses the strings with metal. A round bar is warm in his hands. He longs to hold a woman in those hands, to hold another human being close. A round bar is warm in his hands. The design on his boots is covered by jeans, to hold another human being close. His rhinestones are crying. And now we move on to Andrei Voznesensky, who I found out about through Best American Poetry. But let me just unmute or mute everybody and then unmute myself. I guess I'm still unmuted. Okay. Some of these are really dark titles, but the poems are good. And let's see if I can quickly find. These are just all amazing, but this is the one that I sent Paula Carino, who loved this poem. So I'm going to read this one. This is, by the way, in translation. So these are not his words exactly. Stanley Moss, the poet, translated this. This is called The Ballad of 1941. This is probably written in the 60s. The piano has crawled underground, hauled in for firewood, sprawled with frozen barrels, crates, and sticks. The piano is waiting for the axe. Legless, a black box, it lies on its belly like a lizard, droning, heaving, backed in an empty mine shaft. Blood red, his frozen fingers swollen. 3 lost on one hand, he goes down on his hands and knees to reach the keys. 7 fingers of an ex-pianist play, their frostbitten skin steaming peels away as from a boiled potato, their beauty, their godliness flame and reply. Like the great northern lights, everything played before is a great lie. All the reflections of flaming chandeliers, the white columns, the grand tiers, in warm concert halls, a great lie. But the steel of the piano howls in me. I lie in that catacomb, and I am huge as that piano. I mirror the soot of the mine. I ape hunger, the light of fires, the human shape. And for my crowning crescendo, I wait for the lick of the axe. Let's see. Let's see if I can. There probably are no happy poems here, but his best-selling book was like, he was like a rock star in Russia in the 60s. And his best-selling book is called The Triangular Pair. And I don't know, whoops, excuse me, that's my alarm. But there is a poem in here, which I'm not that familiar with, but they're all good. So since I'm in New York, I just wanted to say thank you for all reading. I love how Alexis referenced, I had a conversation with Renee Labou a couple of years ago, just talking about the idea of shamanism in performance. And I feel, without sounding too pretentious, that right now poets and artists are more important actually than any other time, because this is the real connection. You know, this is if hopefully coming out of this, that there might be a new WPA or something like this, but we're gonna be needed to rebuild this country. Okay, this is called New York Bird, translated by William J. Smith. On my windowsill, monogrammed with moonlight, perches an autumn, once again, New York Bird. On my windowsill, monogrammed with moonlight, perches an aluminum bird in place of a body, a fuselage. And on its corkscrew neck, like the tongue of flame on a giant cigarette lighter, blazes a woman's face. Wound in his capitalistic sheet, my traveling companion is asleep. Who are you? A cybernetic hallucination who's half robot, half creature of air? A cross between a queen of the blues and a flying saucer? Perhaps you're the soul of America, weary of playing underneath. Who are you, young chimera? That cigarette clenched between your teeth? Unblinking, they stare and steadily gleam, the eyes like those of that girl somewhere out in Chicago, face wreathed in cold cream, circles under her eyes as if by gas flames blurred. What do you prophesy? Don't lie to me, bird. Will you communicate? Will you report what you know? Something strange from without rises up in me, as in a branching retort. The atomic age groans in this hotel room. I shout, and my companion, crying, you son of a bitch, sits bolt upright in bed as if he'd been scalded. So you can unmute all. That's Voznesensky, right? He's a badass.
Pretty cool.
And
What's his last name again? Can you put it on the screen so that?
yes, and it's funny because I just searched for him on the web, and I see all these phonetic spellings. It's kind of interesting just to see, because it's not spelled like it is here. But having taken only first year Russian, I could recognize that certain things are just sort of, whatever, transliterations of of Cyrillic, but Andrea Vosnesensky.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And that's in translation. I mean, that's a whole other discussion. But I did take a poetry class with Elaine Equi at the New School in the, I guess, early 2000s, and all of the poems that we were reading were in translation. So I said to her, "Do you read? Do you read these other languages?" She said no. So it's always interesting, right? Like the interpretation of a poem, you know.
Mm.
Because I certainly don't read well enough in Spanish or French or Russian or anything else to really understand what somebody would sound like. But I don't know. Sometimes the rhythms and the energy just comes through anyway. You know.
Yeah.
There are certain like Brazilian poets I've read like in translation who are just so powerful anyway.
Yeah.
But so we will do this again if you guys want to.
This is fun. It's sort of like more like a little cooperative,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole thing. I mean, Kim's participated. We've done sort of songwriting workshops where we all just sort of play. We play each other's songs and give feedback and that kind of stuff. And I always find that like I need a fire under my ass, to write. I do really well with deadlines and then I burn out. But at least that there's some sort of impetus. Otherwise I'll just get into this sort of malaise.
Yeah.
So I will edit and I could put it up privately if you guys want to review before it's posted on YouTube.
Either way.
Thank you.
I would love to say that I really have enjoyed listening to everyone's poems so much.
Me too.
That's really
Same
great.
here.
I mean, there's a certain intimacy that this is what I miss from performing with other people. I sort of get it here more. It speaks much more directly to me.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing another songwriting one?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's one tomorrow night, in fact.
Really?
That's it's 3 songwriters. Actually, Dave, one of the guys from Boston, Nat Friedberg.
Oh yeah.
From the Upper Crust and the Flies. So it's Nat, Erica Smith, and Dave Foster are the songwriters, and then there are 3 food writers.
Oh, Mel told me about this.
Yeah.
Crust is hilarious.
And because this was an idea I had for years ago, but no booker was like, they're like, well, who's going to come to this? I'm like, I know that people are going to come, but I think that, and look, a lot of places also wanted to sort of sponsor under a certain brand or whatever, and I just didn't want to be, committed to some brand of tequila or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that obligation.
Yeah.
So,
A
sponsor.
great idea.
Thank you.
Great. I mean, this is obviously, especially at a time like this.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. If you guys just want to do a songwriting one too, I think that for me, I burn out on people playing songs for an hour, one person. You know what I mean? I sort of need more stimulation, if that makes any sense. Like the feeds I really like. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Claire Burson. She did a feed every night at 7:30 when her kids went to bed of 2 songs, which was perfect. You know what I mean?
That's perfect.
Right?
That's perfect, and you can have more people.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, because
and also less is more. Less is more, because I think when you overload too much content, it's just too much.
That's always been my, I mean, I'm the guy who will literally I walked out of Portishead after 5 songs. Like it was enough.
Wow.
For me.
Wow.
That's
Well, it was too many fucking hippies,
Well, right. Well, I would suppose if, right.
For me.
Depending on the moment, right?
Depending on the moment, right.
What did you say, Tom? You walked out of what?
Portishead after about 5 songs. When they played, I forgot where it was, but they played New York about 9 years ago or something. you know, and it was all like pot smoking, just checked out people, and I was just,
Mm.
and I'm a cranky old man. I just wanted to sit down, you know.
Well,
and-
that's what you have to smoke a joint, man.
Hey, Ray.
Ray's staying alone.
Hi, Ray. Do you guys know Ray?
Alexis, are those
When in
vinyl
Rome.
records?
Sorry?
Alexis, do you have a collection of vinyl records right there?
They certainly
Quite,
will.
and right there, and right there, and right there, and over there, and over
Oh
there.
my gosh, heaven! Wow.
It's a lot of records.
Well, that'll give you nice things to do while you're quarantined.
Yeah, we've just been watching Marvel movies, which is ridiculous, but
Wow.
yeah, we got Disney Plus, and I want to cancel it, so I've been like just watching everything.
Well,
So
honestly,
yeah,
Get it in.
what are you gonna do? Mac and cheese and Marvel movies.
the
No,
short,
I'm
I
not
think,
proud.
the strongest content on Disney Plus, I think, are the shorts. There's a short on there
Oh
called
yeah,
Bow, which is great.
there's have you seen the there's like I can't remember what it's called. It's something spring, but it's like Eternal Spring, or it's the Persephone myth. There's a bunch of like little seasonal weird ones. I love those. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh man,
And I do want to.
Persephone's even in my jam in Marvel, so I got to see that.
So what'd you say?
Yes, I got to check out. Thank you,
See you,
everybody.
Dave. Thank you.
Bye,
Okay.
Dave.
Thank you.
Bye,
thank you,
Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You
I
guys
should
can keep
go- I
talking.
should go
Oh,
too.
okay.
we're but thank you so much for having me, Tom. I'd love
Absolutely.
to either come watch or do another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
All
me
right.
too.
No,
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks everyone.
So then,
everyone be safe and well.
yes. Meta.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom.
See ya.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye,
you.
everyone.